So yeah, that's an interesting thing, and it's given people a lot of research about. Hello, how are you? Oh, yeah. We're open right now. I'm going to come on in.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Pretty well.
My name's Luke.
Good. Park service.
Yes. Yeah. It's a special events office.
Yeah. Timothy Crescent. That's the official part of the group here.
Yeah, the three Quakers, right? Yeah, with
Alpine. Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Mike Thompson. Good to see you. Luke, hey, how are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah,
nice to meet you.
Thank you for all your help.
Oh, of course.
Yes, indeed.
Hello, my
Mike
name's
Thompson.
Peter.
I'm Misty.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Good.
And, good. You know, please, if you are meeting, please stay for lunch. You got tons of food. It's a good, real nice lunch.
I think Andrew's there too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I do know Andrew. Is he in the room?
He had to go attend something. He'll be back shortly.
And that's our videographer.
Oh, yeah, Pat.
Yeah. Thanks for working with him too.
Oh, of course.
Appreciate it. This is a whole new, brand new world. I'm trying to
Yeah.
make this meeting available
So
to
virtual, or
to everybody in the nation who has never attended.
Yeah.
Well, actually, last year we had very good representation by Zoom,
yeah.
so it encouraged us to try it this year.
Is there a large sort of free Quaker?
About 335 members
Throughout the nation.
nationwide.
Oh, wow.
All descended from the original
From this round
founders
meeting.
of this year.
Oh, wow. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Hi. How are you doing, my friend?
Good to see you.
That's
Everything
Looks like a
is perfect.
So where are the cameras?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're going to be able to see over people's heads? And all
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna have the center cam. This is Mike, by the way. He's my,
Oh,
yes, we
hi,
can.
Mike,
It's my
how are
second
you?
shooter.
Please, both of you stay for lunch, too.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
We have some very good food, probably more than we need, so, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so this will take the center cam, just like the general, and then that will be the close-up angle. Whoever's talking, that's whoever, will be close-up on. But we're already live here.
And are you using the hotspot, or are you
The hotspot, yeah, the hotspot is working beautifully.
Okay, that's the one time.
Yeah, I think so. I think this will do. I was concerned that we were going to be like below, and then we weren't going to get signal. But when I checked yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the signal was great. So,
Oh, that's excellent.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, boy, it's funny. So many meetings. This morning, I actually have a men's Bible class at my church. And our leader, who's a retired professor of religious studies, is just fantastic. He's in Hilton Head. So we have a new church hall with all kinds of great electronics, huge screen, and he's there teaching class from Mount Sinai. And it was terrific. I mean, everybody was everybody perfectly. That was good.
Mike, thank you for doing all this work to organize things together.
Thank you for coming. I had no idea how many people were going to show up. On the record, as of yesterday, it was only 13, but I happen to know there were board members who didn't respond with their little tickets.
Well, with the choice of Zoom there, people might have attended, but they'll do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
so
nice
this is
out
a
today.
perfectly good experiment. Pat is a professional videographer, so came very highly recommended to my singing group, the Orpheus Club in Philadelphia, and they've done several filmings and so forth. So
We're open now.
I think it's a reasonable expense. Even though it hurts, that's Quakers. There's
10:36. If you want to get out of the whole lot of seat, we'll already some
Supposed to be here all of it.
it's good to see you. Well, take your coat off if you're warm enough. Okay.
Indeed.
Okay, good.
I've been a Quaker. I decided I was a Quaker all my life. And I've been a Quaker for 30 years. I never knew.
it says women's on it, but it's for parents. I should maybe make that.
I don't have a level on me. I'm the treasurer. Hi guys, how are you? Good.
Hello. Hey, just got some coffee on my hand. That's right, sir. Yeah, we communicated via email. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. As best as we can get it on. Yeah, it's still a little chilly in here, though. Sorry about that. Lost it. Hello. Good. How are you doing?
I'm Pam. I'm Pam.
It's like,
That's impressive, right?
His phone is
I think it's, yeah, like to go out to like a party.
Make sure the audio is coming from this one. Is the audio coming from this or this? Not both, right?
It's pretty. I like to go to the High Rocks State Park. I don't know. It's probably going to do that.
I don't know.
Like there's two big things.
I mean, technically,
Yeah. It's fine.
Because I'm getting it on here, but it's like.
But you have
yeah, I know.
Well, it's interesting to think about a lot of people here, the same building number, their ancestors, did the same ceremony and everything. It's pretty cool.
Okay, do that.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye. She's just coming in from something. She'll text me within a minute.
Oh, that's fine.
So, and I actually have a pen. You can write it down.
Oh, yeah, I didn't bring a pen. So replace.
As soon as I see that checks came in and they've been
Yeah.
scanned, like 2 seconds later, the letters are in the mail.
Oh, really?
I mean, Anna's saying, we need to keep this guy because it used to take Rebecca like 3 weeks to write
Yes.
the letters.
Okay.
So, always, is that Betsy?
Is that Betsy Ross?
Is that Betsy? Is that Carol? Hello, Carol.
Ah.
Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check.
So, Mike, one of the most important things that you might want to tell your speakers is if they don't speak into here, our audience won't hear it, whoever's listening live
How
stream.
close should they get?
You don't have to be anywhere. I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say is if they start
You don't want to know. They should stay here.
should stay here. Yeah. So if they want to be heard, it has to come in through
Okay,
here.
all right.
Yeah.
This is one that you installed?
Yeah, it's
You
just
put
a
in?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. High expectations. No pressure.
Yeah. No.
This is our very first.
I know. That's why I want to make sure it's like perfect.
Hey, Elkie. Good to see you.
So you're the boss now?
Yeah, getting close.
Okay.
I don't think we have the heat on today, so it's a little chilly.
They said it's on, but it's usually it's not working.
We had the air conditioner running up until last week. And can you turn off the air conditioner and get the heat on?
Well, your maintenance people probably don't want to hear anything about it.
Everybody's overwhelmed. It's so busy. You know, we're so short-staffed. So are we expecting less people or more with the live stream option?
I don't know. We didn't get a lot of returns. We send out a mailer, and you're supposed to send a postcard back. And apparently we didn't get a lot back, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, it looks like we got a split. The Republicans took the House, and the Dems retain control of the Senate.
How's that going to affect you?
Well, I mean, we're waiting on our budget, you know. So that's like, does it increase the chances of a budget or decrease? It's hard to say.
Well, no, it's a stalemate, so...
It's a stalemate, right, yeah. Well, now we have to wait till December 6th, too, with the Georgia special election runoff.
No, we came back just for this.
Thursday. We came back last Thursday.
We came back just for this.
What do you do? You don't have something else.
It's a lot of fun.
Is it?
First of all,
The fall was spectacular. Absolutely. I don't think we had a day. I think the coldest daytime temperature we had was maybe 52 degrees.
Yeah.
We had days when we left it was going to be in the 70s.
Now, is your boat still in the water?
No, boat comes out because you start getting these winds and storms and stuff like that in the middle of October, so we pulled it for that.
And then the foliage must be wonderful.
Foliage is good, but it was, because it's so dry, it was pretty quick.
this past year, it was dry.
It was very colorful around here, and I guess it was Thursday, maybe. They threw a switch, and it went from summer to winter. I mean, it was in the 60s, and
Right.
bam.
Correct.
Now, are you going to Georgia at all?
I don't think so. Not for Thanksgiving. They're looking at colleges and going to Georgia games. There's some football team down there that they like.
Like the Georgia University. Is that where he wants to go?
No, he's being recruited by all these really small colleges to play tennis. He's getting calls from coaches recruiting him to play
And they're done that.
What kind of colleges are we talking about?
D3, you pay the full board.
Tiny. Yeah. And probably paying full board.
You are.
Yes, you are, trust me. D3, D2 has no athletic scholarship.
Yeah, tiny colleges, and the coaches are looking at his high school, tennis things where he's not anywhere near the top. He's got a friend he's a 4 and the friend's a 7 or something like that. There's ratings.
Right.
But the family doesn't want him. They want him to go to Georgia.
Right.
I guess Gettysburg has a law school.
Because we're going back on the transatlantic going over. No airplane, no limit on baggage, no bullshit.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm fine with retired, but I wasn't the intern.
60%, they do lectures.
I liked it a lot. I did it for 45 years.
They say that the river cruises just the present here because there's so much more content.
Right, exactly. Like 60 passes. That's nice. I mean, it works out. Let's see what else we do. I mean, every week happened in person, so. Oh, yeah. Well, they're probably just starting. Yeah, 6 inches. All you have to do is now 6 inches down. Actually, you want to end the frost because I think when the it then frosts is when they come in. That's why they don't really want you to plant until there's been a frost. It has to be cold enough where they can sprout.
Only her name was Patsy.
But none of weapons, right?
No, none of weather.
Correct. There were not of it, just sprinklings. I guess it's just
She was a legitimate complainer. And then the final thing was the weather on surviving weather on creature and her for the last members. There are only 2 of them. And that's the and there was a resurgence just as a Civil War story where people wanted to fight. And then the Quaker said, oh, this story is a fight. Seemed to be. Had COVID on one of the cruises.
Mic check, mic check. Testing, mic check. Testing, mic check. Testing, mic check. Mic check. Testing, 1, 2.
that I know of. No. Stephen did have it. I can't believe Stephen had it.
How are you?
Good.
So you're not in Maine either?
I don't have an insulated, heated house.
You have holes in the chimneys to put stoves, portable stoves in.
Wait a second, the chimney can't be used anymore. So I have a cast iron stove that the guy claimed will heat the entire house.
What happened to the chimneys?
Got cracks in it. I wasn't going to replace it.
He means the one in the kitchen. You're not constantly.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, but they're in the main one.
My son, this is my
Hi, this is for you.
Alex works there, right? He does one on the kitchen too.
So law school, so where are you looking?
Now, do you hot water baseboard at home.
Right.
And if it freezes,
Absolutely. So, because they allow you some reasons, so we have 1,000 gallon Missouri
we have 500 because when I am forced,
Right.
but also have the generator because I don't want to worry
No, I
about
agree.
freezing. Do you have the generator that sends you messages?
Yep.
I didn't get that.
We have that. We have cameras up now, so every time there's an ocean,
We have cameras. Every time the deer come in the backyard, I see them. Yeah.
well, they just, I think it's just a good safety. My people know that their cameras up when they're less likely.
Give them I went in the gun room, I opened the door and he said, hello, you're a beaver. That's what I wanted.
Right, exactly. Because it all is connected to a nest system, so.
Well, he never had 40.
He doesn't come. I know come. I saw that. I saw a Mercedes truck.
Some days, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. Is Cordy coming?
I don't, not Cordy, not our young Cordy. He, at the last minute, could not. He had meetings piling up on his on him. So, but Colin is here to do the report. So, and he's
Okay.
here right over there. So I'll give him a copy.
Well, I think we ought to start. Are you ready?
Well, I don't see. Is John Hines here? Not yet. He's from the Sunday Breakfast
Well-
Restoration known as Philly House.
He's not here, he's not here. Well, we'll just deal without
He'll be
him.
along when we need him. Otherwise, we'll
Well, it means we can get to lunch quicker.
get the lunch quicker. That's right. The ladies are all set up.
All right. Did we ever get a number?
Oh, let me see. Hold on.
We need to know what number meeting this is.
242nd.
242nd meeting of the Society of Free Quakers. Well, welcome everybody, 242nd meeting. Well, as usual, we start the meeting off with a moment of silence, and want to also add a moment of silence for all those members who have died since the last meeting. Thank you. Now, as we usually do, we're going to start over there. And if you feel like it, you can stand up. If not, identify yourself and
Spencer Kirkwood, Floyd Kirkwood.
thank you. Eve?
Eve Weatherall.
Barbara Thompson.
Susan Weatherall.
Stephen.
Mike Thompson.
Alex Weatherall Gary.
That's Howard Madison.
Rebecca Weatherall Howard Batson.
Andrew McDougall, Independent Park.
Amnesty Kolkowski, Park Service.
Luke Coakley, Park Service as well.
Timothy Crescent, son of Emily and Ruth Crescent.
Stephen Weatherall. I was the imposter a few years ago. Now that I'm the elder.
Paula Weatherall.
Holly Weatherall.
Colin Weatherall.
Stephen Seventeen, I'm not a liberal.
Diana Emerson. Christina Pasquarello, I'm with Historic Philadelphia.
Jason Greenblake, also with Historic Philadelphia.
I'm Elizabeth Child, also with Historic Philadelphia.
Leslie Terry, Historic Philadelphia.
And Elizabeth Rogers.
John Gregory Stocko, grandson of Isabel Weatherall Stocko. John Stocko, my mom was Isabel Weatherall. Harrison Weatherall, Bull City.
Susan Weatherall again. Jeffrey Matlack, Brooklyn, New York.
Well, thank you.
My bells ring for me. Elizabeth Claypool, the last of the three Quakers, with the exception of one of those medals. I'm Alison Houghton. I'm from the Pheasant Project in Cologne.
And in the corner?
Did the honors for the election.
All right.
And Michael, those are the actors in the back.
Excellent. All right. Stephen? Believe it or not, he's my brother.
You were adopted. Yes, thank you. You were a changeling. It's okay. I'm giving the graveyard report. For those of you who don't know, we have a graveyard in Audubon, and it is open to everyone. We have a lot of room, and it's free. So please come and join us. The report is we had an account balance at the end of September of 21 of $702.94. In the middle of October this year, we had a balance of $387.94. We had expenses this year to date of $815, and we requested $1,000 from the board, which we have received. There were 3 burials this year, which is a very busy year for us. Anna Sasso died this year, and her son Alfred had died a couple of years ago. They were buried this past spring, and Charles Weatherall died, and he was also buried sometime during the summer. There was no damage to the graveyard in the past year and no major expenses for 22. If you would like to get in touch with me, I have a phone number, which is 267-250-2549, or you can email me at stephen.wetherill@verizon.net. Are there any questions? Great. None of you are coming to visit me now? Oh.
Alex and I just voted, and you're the changeling. Okay, Mike?
Once again, Mike Thompson, your treasurer. And we had a tough year. Anybody else have a tough year? Investments were off, obviously. Anybody owning stocks experienced that. Recently, actually, there's been a little bit of a rebound, which is nice. But we for this meeting, we basically go from October 1st to October 1st, because that's where we have the records. And we started the year, that year, at 493,000, just short of 500,000. We ended this year at 394, so that's a bit of a kick in the you-know-what for $99,000. I must say, only a few days ago we were up to roughly 414, so we have rebounded just a tiny bit, but that was very disappointing. The year before. So instead of 20,500, we're down to 18,000, and that this year the Park Service got 4,500, Historic Philadelphia 5,500, and the Sunday Breakfast and Bethesda Project each got 4,000. Our expenses have gone up a little bit because what the investment manager charges us is based on the value of the portfolio, and it was up last year a bit. So we're running about $10,000 of expenses. Last year we actually brought in $11,580 from generous donors, and this year we're already almost at $14,000 in donations. Many of you who have made those donations are sitting in these seats, and please pat yourself on the back, because that's what covers all of our fixed costs, and that means a lot to us. That means that we only have to give away approximately 5% of the value of our portfolio, but we don't have to dip in any deeper for our expenses. So thank you for that. Once again, our goal as financially is to increase the size of the portfolio so that we can be more and more and more generous to our donees, those four that I just mentioned. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's just, I think we better have a congressional committee to see if we can find that $99,000. Oh, okay. Rebecca.
Thank you, Elke. I'm Rebecca Wetherill, Howard Madsen, the recording secretary, the fifth Rebecca Wetherill in 5 generations, as I'm sure many of you have in your families, that kind of continuity. It's my job to announce the names of those whose letters were returned to sender in the hope that someone, either present or on Zoom, will have an updated address or information about them. Mr. Morris Brown, Mrs. Frank Gennari, Douglas Griffin, Mrs. Alta Matlack, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Pickles, Mr. and Mrs. Roger Rays, Ms. Rosemary Claire Roden, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Tiberio, Mr. Timothy Farrington Wetherill. And I also want to say, I don't know if Sam Wetherill is present on Zoom, but the job of corresponding secretary, which we just created, is a really big one. The person has to send out all the thank you letters for the donations that we receive, and Samuel Wetherill very kindly took that on, and I want to thank him profusely. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, I understand Sam's doing a good job, apparently. I'll have to check on that. You know, the continuation of the names, you know, I used to be Little Elkie. Am I still Little Elkie? Colin?
Hello to those here and those on the live stream. I am here to talk about our website report and update on social media in general, just spreading the word of the Free Quakers. Meeting before last, we had just updated our website, brought it into the 21st century, made sure it was more user-friendly, also added a repository for any historical elements, documents that we wanted to make sure were maintained for the society going forward. Engagement with the website and feedback that we received has been very positive. I think those modifications have helped spread. Another area that we'll continue to focus upon, our ask of the group and those on live stream here, is if you have content. I think obviously the YouTube and the way we're going to collect all this live stream, maybe something we'll post out there just again to spread the word and have people be able to engage with the meeting in a different way. Anything that you may have out there in terms of historical documents, things that we would want to share kind of with a broader audience, please send that my way and Cordy's way. And again, thank you for engagement, feedback, etc. If there are other things that we should look to improve, I know one of the elements that came up last time was maybe a takeover by the Park Service, for example, or some of the charities that we donate to. Just simply to say, hey, here's our social media presence. Feel free to take it over and post things that are maybe important with those groups that we help support financially. If there are other pieces of feedback, feel free to share them my way. But look forward to connecting with you all afterwards. Thanks.
Colin, why don't you tell them what the website is? How do they find it?
Yeah, so the best way to get there versus the wwws of the world, if you just simply do a Google search for Free Quaker, again, that optimization, just do Free Quaker. It's one of the first links that you'll see. And then it'll have the history of the society, what we've been doing as of late in terms of our charitable outreach and efforts, as well as some of those historical documents, which were really neat to peruse. I mean, some of the documents go back to historical writings that were done in the 80s, 90s, etc., and some images that are not posted on the walls here. So some really neat things there just to kind of poke around on.
Thank you, Colin. All right, now we're going to introduce Allison Hartington, let's see, Bethesda. I'm sure I butchered your name. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for welcoming me in today. My name is Allison Houghton, and I'm the Development and Communications Manager at Bethesda Project. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be back in person with all of you this year. Our CEO, Tina, she was very much looking forward to be joining you all today, but unfortunately she is homesick with COVID and she sends her regards. Bethesda Project has faith-based roots, and we were founded 43 years ago by Father Dominic Rossi, and our mission is to find and care for the abandoned poor and to be family with those who have none. We operate emergency shelters, supportive housing, and case management for single adults experiencing homelessness who struggle with mental illness, substance abuse, and complex medical conditions at 15 sites across the Center City area. Much like the rest of the world, we are still reeling from the effects of the pandemic, and sadly we still have positive cases that impact our community, but the good news is that we've been able to keep up our programs operational and continue to impact the lives of those that we served. And I'm pleased to share with you some quick highlights from our past year. So we served approximately 1,000 unique individuals across our 15 different sites. It's very exciting. Despite the restrictions due to the pandemic, we had the support of 2,400 volunteers completing 6,700 hours of service off-site on our behalf. And just this past month, we were able to provide in-person volunteering again, which again is very exciting. We increased our minimum wage to $15.50 an hour, and we're excited to have a new strategic plan coming in 2023 that will help direct our activities for the next 5 years. I'd like to share today a brief story about a guest, Sergey, at our COVID prevention site. I actually was able to speak with this individual personally and get his story, and it was very impactful for me, and I'm happy to be able to share it with you today. Sergey is from Ukraine, and he received word that his sister had been killed during the Russian invasion of Ukraine early on in March, and he found himself feeling alone and grieving the loss of his sister in a country that he was unfamiliar with no friends or family nearby. Nicole is the site's program coordinator, and she stepped in. Our mission to be family with those who have none is something Nicole takes to heart. In Nicole's words, she said, "I said to myself, he does have a family to grieve with. He has us." With the help of staff and other guests at the site, Nicole was able to host an incredibly meaningful memorial for Sergey, who recorded it on his phone to show friends and family back in Ukraine. The memorial included a balloon release, non-denominational prayer, snacks, and decorations. I personally was able to attend, and it was very meaningful. Every day, our staff are working to ensure everyone in our care feels like they are part of a caring community. Not only is it our mission, but is what drives each of our staff members, supporters, and volunteers. Whoever comes to Bethesda Project has a family in all of us, and we are grateful for your support and for choosing to be a part of our Bethesda Project family. Thank you. And I have literature with me today if you're interested. It's our 2022, fiscal year 2022 highlights page. So if you're interested, thank you.
Thank you. John Hines, oh, you are here. Good. Excellent. Now, you've changed the name of your organization?
We did.
So let us know about that.
Hi, my name is John Hines, and I'm with Philly House, which you may not be familiar with, but you're probably familiar with Sunday Breakfast Rescue Mission. We're the oldest and largest emergency shelter here in Philadelphia, and have been around since 1878. And it was founded by, if you probably know, John Wanamaker and John Stetson and some other wealthy staples of Philadelphia society came together to provide meals for those who are down and out in the city and show compassion to them. And we've been doing that for now 144 years. I'm brand new to the organization. I've been there about a month. And right before I started, we went through rebranding, and we are now Philly House, but we're still the same organization. But the rebranding has allowed us to not only update our name and our image in the community, but also capture, I think, something that's really important to who we are, not just as an organization, but as a city. This is, as you all well know, the city was founded by Quakers, William Penn, course. And for me, it's, as someone from the area who has ancestral roots, as probably most of us who've been here and have ancestors who've been here for a while, have Quakers in our past. And so I grew up across the bridge here in New Jersey, right down the street from a Quaker meeting house in Mount Laurel. And, this beautiful ironstone building that just sat on a hill and overlooked our little, what was once a rural community. And now live in Haddonfield and have visited the meeting house in Haddonfield several times. So Quakers are dear to my heart. But over the years, I have not only appreciated the buildings and the history, but I've appreciated the steady, stubborn, quiet witness of Quakers for peace and justice and equality in our communities. It's been something that has deeply touched me over the years, because I think it's something that is just well needed in our society today. So back to Philly House, one of the reasons why we wanted to rebrand is to kind of capture that. I mean, this is Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. And, every day we walk down the streets here and we walk by brothers of ours who are living on the streets, who are living out in the cold. And this, what we want to do is not only provide emergency shelter, 30-day temporary housing for folks, 3 meals a day for open to the community, but most importantly, we want to exhibit love. We want to exhibit compassion and generosity to those on our streets, because if we don't do that, it's really hard to be Philadelphia, because that is the core of who we are. So that's Philly House. I do have some literature also that I'd love to share with you, and if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Park Service, Andrew? Now you're the new boss, right?
Getting close. Well, folks, Elke and Mike and Tom, everyone else, great to be here today in the original Free Quaker Meeting House. So we missed the last 2 years due to the pandemic, so it's really nice to be here again. I know the superintendent always thanks you right up front for your donation, so I'd like to do the same. Thank you to our friends, the Free Quakers, for all the support they've given the park through the years. It seems more often than not lately when we're meeting this third week of November, the park is operating on a continuing resolution, as we are once again this year. The current continuing resolution funds the government until December 16th. So passage of a budget is particularly helpful now, as I think we can say we have officially entered the countdown to 2026, America's 250th birthday. So there are many areas of the park that are either currently under construction or about to be in the next year. So just a quick rundown. The Second Bank of the United States is currently under scaffolding and undergoing a full preservation treatment of all the windows and exterior stonework, also a roof replacement. The Market Street houses, including those previously owned by Benjamin Franklin, are receiving new roofs. We just completed upgrading fire suppression and detection systems in some of our other buildings, so we're moving right along. But here are the big ones. With our partner, the Independence Historical Trust, we are breathlessly awaiting passage of the new budget because it earmarks $30.1 million for construction at First Bank of the United States. Now, I guess there is a slight possibility that Congress could take this out of the final bill, but they usually don't line item and pull funding for these types of projects, so we're pretty confident the money is coming. And this funds mostly interior construction, bringing the building up to code, and also some exterior facade work. But the design plans have been approved and are with our contracting office, so we can put the job out for bid, but construction cannot begin until we're able to spend the money, which we can't do until we have a budget. So this number, $30.1 million, it does not include our interior exhibits. We're still about $7 million short, so we're counting on our philanthropic partner, the Independence Historic Trust, to raise money over the next year and a half while construction is taking place, and then exhibit fabrication, installation, and we're ready to open the First Bank for the big 250th. Now, the First Bank exhibits will bring to life the financial foundations of our economy, much the way that Independence Hall tells the story of the political foundations of our country. The exhibits will begin with a discussion of the first currency used on the land that will eventually become the United States. That would be the wampum and other forms of currency used by Native Americans. And we'll go up through the 20th century to discuss how the U.S. banking system favored certain groups and marginalized others. Next up is the Bicentennial Bell Garden. As we all know, Queen Elizabeth celebrated her Platinum Jubilee this year, 70 years on the throne, making her the longest-serving British monarch. But then she passed away on September 8th. Now, there should be quite a few of us in the room remember her visit to Philadelphia on July 4th, 1976, as the nation was celebrating its bicentennial. She presented to the American people, on behalf of the British people, a large bell, which was hung in the bell tower of the park's old visitor center at 3rd and Chestnut. We often call it the Queen's Bell, but we have recently adopted the more formal Bicentennial Bell. During the ceremony, the Queen made outstanding remarks where she said she was thankful to our founding fathers for teaching England a valuable lesson about knowing how to let go of something you could no longer hold on to. She then went on to say how our two nations became the best of allies and fought together in the First and Second World Wars, making the world safe for freedom and democracy once again. Well, the Bell Centennial Bell was removed from the tower when the Visitor Center was torn down, making way for the new Museum of the American Revolution. And the bell was placed in a classified, undisclosed location. A new yoke or armature for the bell has been produced, and with the funding in place through the trust, the Benjamin Rush Garden at the corner of 3rd and Walnut will be transformed into the new bicentennial bell garden with the bell on display right in the center. So work should begin in 2023 with an anticipated unveiling of the new garden in late 23 or early 24. Now, this one here is special because in the spring, we got a call from the Honorary British Consul General here in Philadelphia, Mr. Oliver Franklin, and he informed us that there was an initiative in place called the Queen's Canopy, where to honor the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, a tree would be planted in all 50 states. So the Pennsylvania tree, it was decided, would be planted in Washington Square here in the park. So we decided to link the tree planting to our Flag Day Army birthday ceremony that we have every year on June 14th. So we had the British Consul General, Hannah Young, in attendance, and the British Defense Attaché, that would be the highest ranking British officer on U.S. soil. He's stationed in D.C., Air Vice Marshal Mick Smith. Now, the tree planting ceremony was really beautiful, after which the park superintendent escorted Air Marshal Smith and U.S. Major General Falk to the tomb of the unknown soldier of the American Revolution, where they laid a wreath together. So it was a very nice moment. But then we took them into the hall for a tour. So when we were in the assembly room, it became clear that this was the first time we had high-ranking British and American officers in that room since the British occupation of Philadelphia in 1777-78. And keeping in mind back then, the American officers who would have been in the room were being held there as prisoners of war. So when I offered this to the group, as we were in the room, the significance of the moment became clear, stealing a line from the Declaration of Independence and from the Queen's comments on July 4th, 1976. I referred to the moment as friends in war, enemies in peace, and the closest of allies for over 100 years. So it was a really nice day. Now, we used these very nice golden shovels that we have to plant the Queen's tree, and the Vice Air Marshal took one with him, which he said he was going to make sure got to the Queen. It was a big day. We had the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps from Washington, D.C. Here that day at our Flag Day ceremony and at the tree planting, and they performed in the red coat and uniform of a musician in Washington's Continental Army. So great day, but a long day. And as we were planning everything, I was thinking, you know, we're going to have this British contingent with us this day for about 6 hours. We had to give them lunch, and I was concerned that as the highest-ranking British officer on American soil, the Vice Air Marshal might be a little stuffy. But when he spoke on our Flag Day ceremony early that morning, I realized he was perfect for the occasion when he started out by saying, I didn't know what to expect when I was invited here, kind of strange, a British officer at a celebration of the U.S. Army, but I must say I felt very, very safe when I arrived this morning and I saw all the red coats. So when he said that, I said, this guy's great. So it was a very nice day. So now that we made this connection with the Queen, you know, she has one of our shovels, hopefully. We're really hoping that we can get a member of the royal family here for the unveiling of the new bicentennial bell garden. So stay tuned on that one. That would be great if we can make that happen. It's hard to imagine it was the Queen's great-great-great-grandfather that started all this commotion in the first place, causing you all to split from your congregation and form the Free Quakers. It's the same family running things today. Now, it's always busy here at the park. We have much to look forward to as we count down to 2026. The park is starting to look like it would have in 1974, just prior to the bicentennial, when we had the Declaration House, the Pemberton House, Newhall Military Museum, and the new Liberty Bell Pavilion all under construction. So glad to have had this opportunity to be with everyone today and share some news as we all prepare to commemorate our nation's 250th birthday by celebrating all the many diverse stories and voices that are part of this great experiment in democracy we call America. So, folks, thank you very much for having me here today.
Well, thank you. I guess we're down to old business, new business. Is there any old business? Good. Stephen?
Doesn't Historic Philadelphia?
Oh, that comes after. Okay.
Okay. Any new business?
Yes. Do you want to announce that Cordy Weber III has agreed to be our board contact with our investment?
Yeah, what you...
Well, this is just very brief. Just to thank Cordy Wetherill III for volunteering to be our board contact with our investment advisor going forward.
And Cordy's not here, right?
No, he had a meeting.
Okay. All right. Now, I think it's Betsy Ross. Do I see her?
I'll go first.
All right. Leslie?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here again this year in person. Amy Needle, our president and CEO, sends her regards. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but she sent me in her stead. I'm Leslie Atarian. I'm the vice president for development at Historic Philadelphia. For those of you that don't know, Historic Philadelphia's mission is to make our nation's history relevant and real through interpretation, interaction, and education, strengthening Greater Philadelphia's role as the destination to experience American history. In order to do that, we not only do our Once Upon a Nation programs, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but we are also the keepers of the Betsy Ross House, which is fantastic, and we're also the keepers of Franklin Square, which is another one of William Penn's original squares here in Philadelphia. We have a lot of great things happening at those two sites throughout the winter, and if you see myself or one of our great staff, we do have tickets for you to all of those venues. So make sure you check in with us, and we're happy to welcome you to those sites. Now to business, right? So we very much appreciate the continued support that we receive from the Society of Free Quakers. The Meeting House here is a staging area for Historic Philadelphia's Once Upon a Nation program, and it's where our history makers and storytellers prepare for their days in the Historic National Park and in and around the Historic District. This summer and through the fall, we were thrilled to present 78 days of programming here at the Free Quaker Meeting House. We were here on weekends in April, May, September, and October, and Fridays and Sundays from June through August. Depending on when guests were visiting, they could be greeted by our history makers. Some of them were the former First Lady, Dolly Madison, was here, Sam Nichols, the commander of the Marines, Sea Captain Gideon Oswald, and John Claypool, Revolutionary War POW and third husband of Betsy Ross. We were excited to welcome over 4,850 visitors this summer and spring to the Free Quaker Meeting House during the 2022 season, and that is an increase of 800 individuals from 2021. We are all still recovering from COVID from a visitation standpoint, not just here, but we've also spoken to our colleagues throughout the Historic District, and people are slowly coming back and visiting museums and historic sites again. So we're hoping this next summer we'll be back to pre-COVID numbers. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce a friend who is near and dear to all of our hearts, the little rebel, Miss Betsy Ross.
Now, frankly, I can understand the little part. I feel that I cannot hardly be seen. Can everyone see me, and can I be heard? As well as possible, I shall hope. And nevertheless, though, I want to take a few moments here to greet everyone, and yet I find myself to be humbled. I have listened. I have heard of these fine works, of which I am so pleased. I was requested to introduce myself, and when I did so, I used my name, Elizabeth And yet I have found that I am quite wrong. It appears there are many, many who will still bear the standard of free Quaker. And for that, I am pleased. But I should explain a little bit more about who I am, for I know there may be some who have been bewildered by the different names I have been called. If I were to say all of my names together, 'tis Elizabeth Griscom Ross Ashburn Claypool. And yes, that is more names than a woman needs. I was certainly given the name Elizabeth Griscom when I was born just across the river from the city of Philadelphia. But when I married my first husband, I became known as Elizabeth Ross. And yes, my nickname is Betsy. I was Betsy Ross. And friends, I must understand that it was at that time, with that marriage, that I truly became a rebel. I married outside of the Quaker faith. It was prohibited for me to marry out of unity. I had been brought up in the faith of the Quakers, but the man that I fell in love with was of the Church of England, an Anglican, and my parents would not give permission for the marriage. And so therefore John and I, feeling that we desired to wed, we did as any young couple would do. We eloped, going across the river to New Jersey, married in a town. And when I returned to Philadelphia, a married woman, those of the Quaker faith, the women of the meeting, they came to me, and they entreated that I would repent. Now, mind thee, they would not have me leave my husband, John Ross. No, they desired I would stand before the assembly and publicly confess the error of my way. I refused. I rebelled. I said that I saw no error in marrying the man I loved, and I would be well satisfied to worship with John Ross at Christ Church. And so it was at this time that I left the faith of the Quakers. But I was not the only one. There were many during our war for independence who chose as Quakers to leave the meeting. It was due because we were not to fight, and many felt that they were pulled to be able to fight, and that was against the faith of the Quakers, and so they would be read out of the meeting. And soon, many of us joined together. Yes, the importance of the Wetherall family. Yes, the Matlicks. Yes, these names I have heard today. And together we chose to unite as free Quakers. And as free Quakers, we recognized that we would not be held under arbitrary rules, arbitrary regulations, and that we would consider ourselves free, and that light within shall lead. And therefore, if someone shall desire, if this woman would desire to marry someone who is not of the faith of the Quakers, who shall I be to judge her? She shall be free to follow the light within. And if there shall sit here some man who desires he must take up arms and defend his country, who shall I be to judge him? follow the light within. Thou shalt be free to make thy own choice. Friends, 'tis a rebellious statement. But I am free, and I have never desired to leave this meeting. My third husband, John Claypool, has been mentioned, and my husband, John Claypool, and I were meeting here in this building together. And we saw the good works of the Free Quakers. We supported abolition, freedom for all. We saw the needs of those who were in poverty. And 'twas this meeting of the Free Quakers who stepped forward to help. I myself have benefited from thy generosity. When I lost my husband, John Claypool, and became a widow for the third time, it is this meeting that provided for me, and I shall never forget. Sometimes it would be labor in kind. Sometimes it would be merely gifts. Whether I should need money for shoes, or whether it would be that the meeting needed new cushions, which it appears they may need again. They would hire me, and I would work. And yet, this was the support I saw. And yet, slowly, as I have aged, I have seen many who shall go away. They seem to believe they can give their repentances, and they join the other Quakers. I shall not judge them. They have followed the light within. But for me, even if I find that I and Mr. Wetherill are the last in this meeting, I shall always be true to the tenets of Free Quakers, which is no tenets. And yet, we are united together by purpose, by choice in our freedom. And so I shall leave thee but 3 challenges, as I see there is still the remnant that desires to consider themselves as free. Remember to always desire peace, but not to be afraid to stand if there must be conflict. I would also challenge thee to strive for simplicity. I have heard the challenge has become greater over the centuries. But if thou shalt choose for simplicity and strive for it, then that which is most important will be able to make its appearance. So if thou shalt desire peace, strive for simplicity. More important and above all, thou must remember to continue to demand justice. Justice for all. For all are able and should be considered to be free. It is this challenge that is the hardest, for justice is not always easily found. But as I have listened and as I have heard, I know that across the centuries, my heart has been warmed and my heart has been humbled. And friends, 100 years from now, 240 years from now, will this remnant remain? There must be others to take thy place, and I am assured there will be. I thank thee. Carry on, good friends. Be rebels. Be free, Quakers. Good day to thee.
Thank you so much. Well, is the lunch ready? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mike?
So moved.
Okay. Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Lunch.
Thank you, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been doing this for everything stopped. Had this set up last summer ago.
Did you pay for parking?
Yeah.
Okay. How much were it?
It's supposed to be 12 an hour.
Okay.